Alright people, let's go over this one more time. 2017, I created the VTH movie, a web series that was loosely based on my friend's OC character but ended up becoming a world of self-insert Mario and Sonic OC characters, with pop culture references in the mix. Looking back at it now, it definitely has not aged well. So much in fact that I'm not even comfortable making it public again. But one thing that I will always acknowledge about it is that it made a change. Therefore, I technically made a change. It inspired people to make their own projects. The kind of world that people saw through the VTH movie was very appealing at the time, since it sort of gave people an opportunity to be a part of it and even meet some of the people involved with it. Oh, cool! I want to meet this guy! 2020, the year where I fell off. I gave up on everything, including the VTH movie and my channel as a whole. Then 2021 rolled in. I experienced the VTH movie making a change again, and then witnessing everything else in that year that kept changing my life left and right. Oh my goodness, I should just return already! So that's where I came up with the idea of rebooting it. Except this time, people won't go, this Roblox animation is so bad. Instead, they'll go, holy fucking shit! Basically, I wanted it to be a massive improvement, and finally do it the way I wanted to do it from the very beginning. So I had my friend VTH223 be my mentor and help me learn the arts and skills of Blender, and we continued to work together in developing everything else, and thus came the Vehicular Testing Human. Definitely my most ambitious project yet, and the one I'm most proud of so far. But of course, to embrace the very project that helped lead up to this one, I did include some callbacks and references throughout episode 1, as well as references to other things too. So, let's go over them. But before I do so, I highly recommend giving the first episode a watch if you haven't seen it already. Anyways, to clarify this, I just wanted to quickly talk about the intro in the episode. Night Skyline Video Entertainment was just the name of a channel in VTH223's Discord, and I just wanted to sort of replicate a movie studio intro that plays in the beginning of every movie or show just to add to the cinematic factor. So Night Skyline Video Entertainment isn't really the studio of the VTHuman. In fact, there really isn't a studio at all. Just the dynamic duo. The first callback to the VTH movie is when the episode actually starts. The first thing you hear is this.
Hello. The name's... Hello, the name's VTH.
I made it start nearly the same exact way I started the VTH movie episode 1, with the music slightly remixed, and the same line too, except this time he doesn't say VTH. The next callback is when it switches to a VHS video, and the first text that shows up after the blue playback screen? The VTH movie. Obviously a callback to the original series. But the even cooler part is when the text glitches in. If you slow it down, you can see the original logo of the VTH movie. Then it switches to a regular font that still has the same color, then it switches to white. Pretty life-changing stuff, huh? The VHS scene then shows us Novacorp's first invention, the Rohog, with a design that is a clear reference to VTH223's OC. Then it shows a newspaper saying News 33 at the top of it, and later on in the episode, in the news report scene, the reporter says,
"Reporting from News 33.
Of course being a callback to News 33 from the VTH movie, named after an old friend of mine, TMB33. Next is a reference to something that is not the VTH movie, but rather Need for Madness 2, a Java web game that released back in 2010, when Zurak reawakens after 30 long years deactivated in the mineshaft. A version of his theme plays. It is actually the Stage 10 music from the game. The original song was called Flesh Brain Sarin. And on the topic of Need for Madness, did you know that Zurak was actually modeled after Insano from the game? The next scene, we're introduced to Humesburg, a fictional Floridian city, essentially the Hedgehogville of the Humanverse. Hedgehogville was sort of the main town in the VTH movie. It was supposed to be called Hedgehogburg since it was tying in with Voldemar 64's Voldemar Tales, but I literally forgot it was Berg instead of Ville, so it ended up becoming Hedgehogville. Here, it's Humesburg. Humes referring to human, since it is the Humanverse, and Berg, of course, from learning the mistake I made with Hedgehogville. In this scene, we're also introduced to Eric Samoa, my new OC, and also the big reveal of this episode. And if you're someone who's new and you're acting like, oh great, a self-insert, may I remind you that this is a reboot to the VTH movie, and who was one of the main characters of that series? Oh, that's right!
So shut up.
Afterwards, he puts on a pair of headphones and listens to catchy music whilst dancing a bit down the path. Of course, referencing the opening scene from Guardians of the Galaxy. This is a scene that I've been wanting to bring to life for a few years, since I knew that it would be a great way to show how expressive Eric really is. We then go to the legendary scene where Eric and VTH meet for the very first time in the Humanverse. A dynamic duo reborn. As Eric constantly questions VTH about how he ended up at the shore of the lake, VTH remains silent for most of the conversation, due to his personality from Dark Origins and just trying to observe everything after being deactivated for 30 years. This is loosely a nod to how Eric talked a lot more than VTH in the VTH movie. Pretty ironic, huh? But it was mainly because VTH223 wasn't always available to make voice clips, and I wanted to finish those episodes as quickly as possible back then. Except this time, here, it actually makes sense, because it is part of his personality, while Eric is the more lighthearted and relatable one. You could also notice it slightly through the lighting of the scene, where VTH appears darker, while Eric is more lightened up. This is called a juxtaposition, where two things being seen or placed close together create a contrasting effect. Another reference made during the scene is when Eric says, "Do you speak English? Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?"
RH. What does RH stand for?
Rush hour, baby.
Do you speak any English? Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
By the way, please watch the Rush Hour movies. They'll change your life. And in the very last line of the episode, Eric also says,
This is the very moment that has possibly changed my life forever.
Not only is it clearly referencing my Changed My Life trademark, but it's also teasing at what's to come for Eric Samoa in the Humanverse. And lastly, at the very end of the episode, is a to be continued screen that is a sprite animation of VT Hedge turning into VT Human. It's a callback to how every episode of the VTH movie ended off with a to be continued screen with a VTH sprite. Except here, it's a full-on sprite animation, to further show that the VT Human overall is a massive improvement compared to the VTH movie. And that's pretty much all the references and callbacks I decided to point out in this video. I can't thank you guys enough for your support for the series and for inspiring me to keep doing what I love. And if the series itself has gave you inspiration to make something, go ahead, cause here at the Samoa 324, I'm here to make a change. Thanks for watching, and as for an update on episode 2, I already made the file and started it. It's just sort of at a pause right now, but it definitely is in the works. And also, happy 4th of July.